Day one, when you arrive at university, there'll be lots of new challenges ahead and things that you're unfamiliar with. You're not too sure how to navigate your way through. You might be a bit apprehensive about that. My key message is, don't worry, you're not alone. You'll find all the other students will be in a similar position to you. You'll have slightly different backgrounds, but all of you will be facing the same challenges. You'll also have all of the academic staff and support staff, and we all want you to be able to do your best and achieve your ambitious goals, so that when you get to graduation day, you can look back and see all of the challenges that you've managed to overcome along the way to getting to your final graduation from your degree, growing in confidence so that you're ready to go off and tackle the next challenge. I'm going to give you a few of my tips about how to study at university and adapt to the types of assessments that you will face. The first thing that I'll mention is that when you look at your timetable, you will see the scheduled activities placed on this. You need to make your own timetable, which includes all of the independent preparation time that you will need to include, all of the reviewing of your lecture notes and workshop activities, your preparation for the assessments, as well as putting in other responsibilities and activities that you might be involved in. You might play a sport or be involved in a student society or have a part-time job, get involved with the RISE extracurricular programme. And you might also have other people who you look after in your life, maybe little brothers and sisters or family members. So try and schedule in all these different things onto a timetable. The next thing is that we provide lots of resources to support you, and you'll have scheduled sessions. Don't worry if you don't understand everything the first time you hear or read it, or even the second or third time. We're not expecting you to understand everything immediately. You're here to learn. You're going to be exposed to complex concepts that are really unfamiliar to you. The key is not to give up. So do read and watch any preparation material. Make notes. Make a list of questions of the things that you find difficult. And then engage fully when you have the timetabled activities. Have a go at answering the questions that are asked. And be brave and ask a question. Practice the questions that you're given. You will have formative assessments or tutorial or workshop questions to work through, seminar discussions to prepare for. Have a go at answering these and preparing for these, even if you find this difficult. So the main thing is that you're doing your best to try and apply the complex concepts that you're learning, and you're asking questions so that you can keep on improving. And we are really happy to help and answer questions. But we're not the only people you can ask questions to. Do talk to the other students who are on your course. Discuss the concepts. Be the person who says, I found this bit a little bit tricky. Someone else is likely to have found the same thing, and so you might be able to bounce ideas off each other. You might meet someone else who had found it tricky, but has worked out how to understand it. So share your top tips on how to learn and understand the material. Number one thing, don't give up. You will find that as you go through the course of your degree, you will get better at understanding the new, complex, exciting concepts that you're going to be learning through your degree. And all of that effort that you put in is going to help you improve. So keep going, and every so often, take a look back and think about how far you've come and all the new concepts that you've learned since you started at university. You will find that you're given assessments, and sometimes you might have more than one assessment that's coming up with deadlines that are quite close together. My number one recommendation for dealing with multiple deadlines is to make sure that you have things in a calendar. And I actually recommend using an electronic calendar, so Outlook, for instance, or a calendar on your phone, and a paper diary. So I use both of those. And the first thing is, write in a note on your electronic diary when the submission deadline is, and put a reminder in place to flag that it's coming along. Try to make sure you'll be submitting a day early. So put in another reminder that that's when you want to be submitting. and schedule time in for a final check. And then working back from that submission deadline, you want to be putting in mini milestones. So what do I mean by mini milestones? Well, as soon as you get your assessment, take a look at it. Don't put it to the bottom of your bag or assume that you will click on the link at some point in the near future, but actually it's within 24 hours of the deadline of the assessment. So take a look at it as soon as you can after you're given it. And your plan there is not to complete it, but just to take a look and highlight keywords, find out what it's asking you, find out the bits you feel confident on and the bits you'll need to do more work on. Break it down into smaller steps, these mini milestones on it. And what I do is I start a Word document and I start putting my assessment notes in early. And I'll take parts from the assessment brief and make sure that those are the key headers in the notes that I'm making, so that I don't miss any element out from the assessment brief. It might be that I have to look up a particular concept and how to do calculations on it. So I'm trying to put in which part of my notes to go off and look at, or where I'll need to do more research using the online resources and databases. So I make a plan of how to tackle these smaller elements of the assessment, and I schedule in when I need to finish each of those mini milestones. That makes this daunting task of doing an assessment much easier to do, because I know I've just got, say, 4 key tasks that I need to do before I can do the final polish on it and then submit it. If you've got deadlines that are coming up that are quite close together, you have 2 approaches. You could work on each of the assessments that you've got and make some progress on each. And depending on what these are and what else you're doing around it, that could help you. And you might find it useful to just focus on one, make some progress, and then the next one make some progress on that. And you can build confidence that you're moving in the right direction with both of them. Sometimes it's good to just focus on one of the assessments at a time, complete it, and then move on to the next one. Whichever pathway you take, and if you're taking the one where you're just focusing on one assessment at a time in particular, make sure you schedule in enough time for each assessment. Don't let one of the assessments run over so it takes a week and a half, and then you've only got half a week left for the second assessment, but you know that you need at least a week for each of them. So make time to plan your assessments, break down what you have to do, make notes, and then get going on trying to write down and answer the questions that you're being asked, and to just get going on doing the assessment, and don't leave it to the last minute. Once you get feedback from your assessment, don't just look at the mark. It's really easy to kind of look at that, and that's how you end up feeling about the whole assessment. The idea of assessment is that it's enabled you to really familiarise yourself with the material that you're learning, to get much greater understanding of these key concepts, and then to apply them to a question or topic that you've been set, to demonstrate that you've got that well-rounded understanding. And that process of completing the assessment is what enables you to get that. So get into the habit of reviewing how you prepared to go off and do that assessment and how you could improve that. Did you leave enough time for it? Did you read around enough? Did you spend too long on one particular element and therefore run out of time for the other parts on it? If you don't get the mark that you were hoping for, don't worry. Everybody can improve. So this process of reviewing your feedback that you get is important for absolutely everybody. And I do this on a day-to-day basis. Whenever I've done something, I have a quick check with myself as to how I think, what I think went well, and what I can improve on. So think about this as practice for everything else you go off and do in your career. So think about how you prepared for it and what you could do better, and read the assessment feedback. We spend a lot of time giving you assessment feedback, and it's really useful if you can make sure that you read through it and take note of the key elements that you need to do. And I recommend doing this in 2 ways. From all that assessment feedback, take out the key parts you need to do and try and keep 3 of them in mind for when you're doing your next assessment. So you're going to be actively trying to improve those 3 elements as you do the next assessment that you've got. Also, for all of the other elements, into a list of a common checklist of things that you tend to do that are mistakes and you should try to avoid. And so when you're reviewing your assessment that you've done, take a look through that list and check that you haven't made those mistakes again. And this process of going through and applying the feedback that you've got and showing that you've improved on that and you've learnt from that is really going to lead to you taking big steps forwards in how you can understand the concepts that you're being taught and demonstrate that you have that high level of understanding. At this point, I should probably flag that I'm a scientist, so I like an equation. So if I think about your degree, it's a combination of lots of different things. It's all about the preparation you do and the engaging actively in the timetabled activities. So remember, be brave. Key elements I wanted to highlight are around make a list of questions when you're working on the preparatory material or when you're in the timetabled activities, and try and see if you can work out what the answers are to those questions, the bits you find difficult. Don't give up. Do ask questions, act on the feedback that you're given, and try the questions that you're given, even when you find the topic difficult. So don't write nothing, just try. Find the bits of your notes that you think that apply, write out the key elements in it, see how far you can get in a question, and then write what you find difficult and where that step that you're looking for to take you to the next part of the assessment that you're doing on it. And do ask for help. We're really happy to support you, because what we want you to be able to do is to learn how to learn, so that when you're given a question or when you're working on a problem, when you're out there in your graduate careers, you think, right, this is a whole new thing that I'm doing. I know how to learn. I can understand what a question is asking me, and I know how to go off and use the resources available to go off and solve that, so that you gain in confidence doing that, and by the end of your degree, you've got that expertise and the confidence to be able to apply all of these skills to whichever topics you find in your future career.